Hello, Internet. Welcome to Popcorn Chicken, where we talk about stuff that's on TV. Today, Elvin is off to Vegas, I think. He's going to WCW or some wrestling thing. Anyway, so he's not going to be joining. D might be at some point later. Oh, wait, I need to turn my lights on. But for the time being, grab a drink. We're going to talk about Willow for as little time as possible. And then we're going to talk about the Bad Batch and then other cool stuff. So here's Nathan.
Well, I'm glad that we have the Bad Batch to talk about today. It
yes
makes up a bit for kind of just a lackluster series generally.
Yeah. So I got a Bev, and then my mom for Christmas got Dio. It's chill box.
What is that?
And it's crinkly and it's squeaky, but it's got bark lager instead of dark lager.
Nice.
So Dio, you get to have a beer too. There you go. Yeah, that's yours.
Dio looks a little tired, maybe.
He's like, Dad, I just want a nap.
Well, it's that time of the day.
Yeah, any
what do you
of
have
the time
to drink? Dio's got his. Oh, you haven't passed.
I got a bog standard neutral corn water.
I'm going to go once again with Jameson. Already the bottle's at half. I'm not an alcoholic. I had a bunch of friends over the other night. And,
New Year's and Christmas and stuff. It's fine.
Yeah. Celebratory times.
You can hear the squeak in the background.
Yeah, I can hear that.
So,
oh my gosh.
This episode of Willow, it tried to do cool things. I know all the people who worked on it or whatever. They were like, "Oh, this episode, this is the cool one." But again, it's I want to clip the amount of times I facepalm talking about this fucking show. They like.
Are you saying the cool one because of like the training scenes?
No, the training montage was stupid, but like they just kept trying to be like, "Oh, here's a new cool like place," and here's the forever water or whatever the fuck it's called, and then
the shattered seas or something like that.
And then so they get to the water and they're like, "Here it is," and it's like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then they walk forever, and then they get to a boat house thing. Then there's some guy in there, and he's like, "I'll make you dinner." And then they're there for like a bit. They have a nap. They have some food. They ask him for salt.
I'm an excellent chef. Here's some shit I found.
Yeah. Do you have any salt? Any what? Oh, yeah, here it is. Oh, okay. And then, but he was evil or something?
Actually, I'll be honest. I didn't really get that part because all of a sudden, what's his name? Graydon or Grayson? Is it Graydon?
Graydon.
Oh, gosh. I always forget the names because these people.
We only got one episode left. I don't think.
Yeah, only one episode left. Willow, it's Graydon, right? Yeah.
Graydon, yeah.
Graydon just like hits him in the face, and I was like, "Did I look away? Did I miss something?" Like he just hits him, and they're like, "We're gonna Grand Theft Auto this. We're gonna steal his pet that he's got all chained up and his wagon thing sled." And
I didn't even see that they stole the pet.
Well, because it was always attached, wasn't it?
Or something.
I think it was attached.
It's so disjointed, this show. Like, they do not do a good job of explaining things at all. And again, the show feels like it's a show about something that has so much backstory and that like everyone knows the lore of. And they're like, "You know what this is?" And it's like, "No, I've never fucking heard of this thing in my entire life." And they're like, "Oh, well, anyway." And then they just graze past it and don't explain it. And you're just like, what the why? So they're at this boathouse. They talk to some old dude. He makes him dinner. Then one of them just bashes him over the head, and they're like, "We gotta go." And then one of the evil people, the crones, show up. The girl with the teeth.
The one of the Gales.
Yeah,
I forgot what she's called. That specific one. But yeah.
Then she's there, and then you're like, "Oh, okay. Is the old guy like a front, and they were all there or something?" Then they leave, and then they get on this boat, and then again, one of the Gales is like trying to get them.
Both of them. Both of them.
Both of them? I thought there's only the one guy.
No, there's the
the bird
woman. She was flying behind them, and then there's the other guy that actually looks pretty cool.
Yeah,
it turns out to be a ninja.
Yeah,
and I don't. Well, this isn't a big deal, but I thought it was kind of weird where they showed him throwing the little stars.
Yeah,
and then instead of like you see him, he throws one and then throws another. Hello there.
Hello there.
But then all of a sudden they cut away from him to the wagon thing, and there's like 10 of them being thrown at once. It's like, wait, what? They just showed a moment ago he's doing one at a time. Anyways, not a huge deal. Although, what's her name? Kit.
Kit gets hit by one.
Gets hit by one is fine.
Also, I don't remember seeing her get hit by one. It's just like, oh, there's fighting and stuff outside, and then it cuts to inside, and then she's just like, my arm, and I'm like, when the fuck did that happen?
She did. I remember it, but it was very anticlimactic. It was just like a hit, cut, and just move on.
I must have, I don't know, blinked for extra long or something.
Yeah, that's probably the smart thing to do.
I didn't watch this week's episode, and it felt great. Oh, is that Elvin? Yeah,
I think it might be.
Yeah. And so then he ninja stars at them a bunch. Then he force jumps onto the thing. They have the fight scene for this was stupid because it was just like bad cuts, and they kept trying to put in jokes, and it's like, this isn't funny. This is scary. This is supposed to be a high.
That's what I thought too. Like, where the first time we see them, they have like the ominous music, and they make it, they build it up, and that was actually really cool being introduced to them. But
that
every
was one
single
of the
time,
best things of the show was that like first couple episodes when they fight them.
But every single time since, when we see the Gales, the fight has just been horrible. During not the last episode, but the one before that, so episode 5, when they are just running from the Gales at the start of the episode, I hated that so much. That's one of the reasons why I gave that episode 2 out of 10.
Yeah,
was that scene that I was anticipating, a big action scene, and it turns out it's just a moment of them running away and having this horrible fight scene.
Yeah.
And this one's pretty similar, except we see them start the fight, and it's just not very good. I thought these guys would be very powerful, but what ends up happening is they fight basically like every other bad guy we've seen.
Yeah. And then he does, and like in the first time that they fight them, they get the shit kicked out of them by them. And like, sure, it could be argued that like, oh, they're stronger now. They've trained and whatever. But then you see him fighting Borman, and then Borman goes to block him, and all like the choreography, like they definitely did not have the same choreographer for the later episodes that they did in the first couple, because the first couple of the fight scenes were awesome and the camera work was awesome. The camera work in this was, I'll talk about that later because
is it the same director for all the episodes?
No, it was like one person did 2 episodes each. But like he blocks it with his sword, and his sword's got like these holes, I guess, to put your fingers in. And then the Gale is like, oh, I know it's going to be a good idea. I'm going to shove my sword through there. And then immediately Borman's just like, well, I'm going to twist it. Now you don't have your sword. And then he kicks him or something. And then he's like, oh no. And then it was like borderline missing a like pratfall, or like the like sound of somebody slipping on a fucking banana peel. And then they get away. Oh, and then Graydon just magics the fucking bird lady to death. And
that was so.
I know spells.
that was so out of like, for two reasons. I thought that was weird. Was one, the only buildup they've had is he's got a bit of magical knowledge, which they've hinted
Mm.
at. So I thought, okay, maybe he knows some stuff. But the other thing is, we've seen Alora, who's supposed to be really powerful, struggle to learn magic, and all of a sudden he just pulls out the spell and disintegrates the gale.
Yeah.
It's like,
He's just like,
where did
I
this
know the
come
death
from?
spell. It's fine.
It's like Harry Potter. The very first spell he learns is, the killing curse, and he just does it perfectly.
Yep, it's fine. And then so the bird lady's dead, even though she was fucking cool. And then they leave them, and then it cuts to Eric, and there's this girl, and exactly what I fucking said was gonna happen happened. Because then he's like, "Oh, I'm the prince," blah blah, and she's like, "What, are you trying to fuck me?" And he's like, "What?" And then I was like, "Are they gonna?" Again, I think last episode I was like, "Are they gonna make it like, oh no, he's gonna cheat on his girl?" It's just like, but we don't like him. We already know. The only thing we know about him is that he's a prince or something, and he's a fuck boy. And now you're like, "Oh, he might be a fuck boy." It's like he is. We already know that about him. And then in this episode, they're like, he might be a fuck boy, and then he makes out with her, and then after she's like, no, and then she's like, oh, I just had to see if I could trust you, and then we learned that she brought him there, and then that's not explained very well, and then he falls into the water, and he sees, I don't know,
he sees Kit drowning. I thought
he sees Kit drowning, and then I don't know, there's some connection that they didn't talk about or explain, so that's weird. And then he like gets seduced by her because she's actually evil or something. And then, which that kind of makes sense because they were like, "Oh, come in here," and he's like, "Nope." And then they're like, "I know, he likes tail. Let's just put a pretty lady in distress, and then he'll do whatever she says because he'll just want to get laid."
Yeah.
So anyway, he does that, surprising no one.
I'm sure as soon as you saw her in this episode, you like, same thing for me. I was like 100%. I knew this is what's gonna happen. She's gonna deny that she first had this big little speech, and then of course she goes against it later on, and then of course she turns out to be kind of evil.
Yeah,
it's just so predictable.
So then they get to a waterfall, and then they're like, "Oh, I guess we have to turn around." And then for some reason,
before that, there's the training scenes.
Yeah, they have a montage.
Yeah, with the training montage.
Yeah, so they fight a bit, and then also too the build up between Kit and the redheaded girl from Solo.
Alora?
Oh no, the other one.
Oh, from Jade.
There's this huge buildup of like, "No, I love you," and then they kiss, and then they zoom in on it. They're like, "Whoa, they kissed!" And it's like, yeah. They're like, "Isn't this crazy? They love each other."
This a while ago.
Bitch, this is the first thing you told me about these two people is that they love each other, and I was like, okay, cool. And then they're like 7 episodes later, isn't this wild? Nope, you've been fucking telling me this the whole time, and it's So anyway, then Disney's like, we did a cool story thing. No, you just regurgitated the story thing that you started.
Yeah, and do you know what really bugged me? When they first get to that little island, to have their, where they started doing the training after the fight scene, Willow goes up to Graydon goes up to Graydon, and he's like, "Where you learn magic? How do you know that?" Oh, yeah, he's talking about it. I'm thinking like, how is not everyone just astounded by this? That this guy that never before was able to do this. To them, maybe they didn't have any indication. All of a sudden, he's disintegrated the bird lady.
Yeah.
And he's magical. He's using a magic flute.
Yeah. And I thought the explanation of like, "Oh, what did you use?" "Oh, my flute." "Oh, okay. Well, personal items can be used as wands." Like that was neat. But
I was fine with that.
Yeah.
But it was just immediate. Like Willow's talking about it, and then Kit just interrupts. Like, "Okay, let's move on." Or was it Alora who's like, no, we need to start training?
It was Alora, and then you see her and Graydon sparring for a second, and then they cut to another. Anyway, so everyone leveled up and is now, they've got their mounts, and they've got they can now use their Hearthstone. They've gotten to level 20, and they know their second tier of spells and skills. So now they've all leveled up, and then they get to the waterfall, and then they're like, "Oh, I guess this is it. We should go back home now. It's fucking this the end." And then Kit and Alora do this like secret, like, "Oh, okay, we'll do it together." And it's like, do what? Why? How do you know that you can just jump off? Also, the first time when they got to the edge and everyone's like, "Oh, this is the end," and Alora was like, "No, we have to keep going." I was like, this is either going to be an illusion and they just walk on air, or you just jump off. And they ended up just jumping off, and it wasn't a magical thing. It wasn't like a spell. It was just like you just jump in the water and then you swim to the next place. And it's like, oh, that's not mystical or cool or anything. It's just a big fucking waterfall, and you just go into the water.
Yeah. Was it just yeah? As soon as I saw the waterfall, I immediately thought, okay, they're gonna have to jump off.
Yeah.
Like it again is just predictable.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like they're not putting in much effort to the story. I'll admit this: the effects, the CGI, I like the practical effects as well. I think are nice.
That's the one thing. That's the one good thing I've said about the show is it looks great. The cinematography, as far as the lighting and the makeup and like what cameras they're using in the color correction and all that, and like the editing, and the sets and character, like everything looks like aesthetically great.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
The camera work is ass. And also when they were at the edge of the water, for some reason they just used like, I want to say like, I don't know, a 20 millimeter lens that was like F or T like 1.5. So it was just like the depth of field was just super shallow. So everything was blurry in the background, and it was always shoved right into everyone's faces. There was a bunch of times where the second AC who was pulling focus kept missing focus. So like, I don't know what they were. I think what they were trying to do was like, oh, they're in this weird world, so we're going to make everything kind of blurry and uncomfortable. And it's like, but there's nothing. They're just on water. Like, it's not like, oh, here's this super evil mystical place with a bunch of spells and weird shit, and that's why everyone feels weird. Because the job of a camera is to make it's the immersion. So if somebody's feeling sick, then the camera's going to be woozy and it's going to be blurry and you're going to lose vision. But if you're just standing by water and you haven't explained anything or told me that there's any reason why it should be any different than any other fucking waterfall, it's just bad camera work. Because now I'm like, why is the camera doing this? This is dumb.
Yeah.
So then they fall into the water. Also, they don't tell the rest of their friends that totally could also just fucking jump in the water. They were just like, okay, we're going to do it now. Then they fall. They do a trust fall into water. Don't tell anybody. They're just like, we know the secret for no reason.
Then I wish they were wrong. I wish
and then it
wasn't. They just died. We're done with Willow. They just killed themselves. So then
they fall off. Then they get to the world between worlds or whatever the fuck where Eric is, and then they get to the place that he's at, and then he comes out of a door, and now he's evil.
I'll be honest, I didn't recognize him at first. I'm like, who's this? Why are you playing this music?
Because they have forgotten about him so many. Yeah.
I was like, who the hell is this person? Why are this guy looks like some wannabe punk, who's supposed to be intimidating. He doesn't look intimidating to me. It just looks like he got reduced set of clothes and a haircut. His hair was also dyed, and he grew
just
a mustache.
Greased his hair back a little. Also, too, speaking of hair dye, now, what's her name? Alora.
Alora, yeah, her hair's
fully
red.
ginger.
Yep.
And at no point did the camera like zoom in, or did anyone make a comment being like, "Oh, your hair's changing color." It just was like, "Oh, we're in a red like." No. So the last episode, they were just in a place that the lighting was this. And then they were like,
yeah.
They were like, her hair's red. And it's like, is it? She's blonde and the light's red.
Yeah.
She just looks like she has a red light on her.
I had
and
no
now,
idea.
yeah, and now her hair is fully red. And that's I don't know, is that supposed to mean something? Like, what is that? But I didn't notice. I only noticed because we made comments about it last week. So when she was walking to in the desert place and she was fully ginger, I was like, oh, she has all red hair now. Oh, when did this happen? Okay.
Yeah. I do remember a while, like when they first, I think it was episode 2, maybe 3. They're talking about when Willow met Alora when she was young, and why they're talking about how her hair used to be red, but they dyed it white, or they changed it so that was white.
Okay.
I can't remember the exact reason. It might have been to protect her, or to hide her identity, or just because she liked it.
What, are gingers just evil, or does that mean you're a wizard?
No, because there's Jade and she's ginger and she's got no powers.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't quite know, to be honest. This show's got a lot of things. Like, it might just be my memory and I can't remember, but to be honest, because this show has
it's not your memory, because there's 3 of us talking about this fucking show, and
yeah.
And again, a show that I talk about with friends of mine for 2 hours once a week and watch it every week, and I still can't remember stuff.
Yeah.
That's fucking horrible.
Yeah. And we're actually like trying, when we watch the show, it's not just like a watch it in the background. It's like, okay,
no, I sit down in front of my TV. I watch it on my TV. Like, I don't watch much by myself on my TV. Like, everything's like, yeah, second, third screen, whatever, while I'm doing other shit while I'm working. Like this show and like a couple other shows, I sit down on my TV, I sit there with, a drink, and I give it all of my attention, because God knows it fucking needs it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and even then it struggles.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was next? They find the city. Eric comes out,
and then credits roll. That was it.
Yeah, that was it. I will give them credit for one thing that I liked.
Okay.
The whole point of the show, they're trying to rescue Eric. It's supposed to be this journey from their home all the way to get to, I think it was the Eternal City, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Or no, the Eternal Sea, or the Never-Ending Sea.
Yeah, but they're trying to, rescue Eric. And there's very few times where I actually felt like they traversed a significant distance.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it feels like they just walk like a day, and then something happens, and they're stuck in that location for a while.
Or not even, like they walk for an hour, and they get to, like, that's why there's no, like, oh, it's the Eternal Sea. It's like, motherfucker, you walked for 20 minutes, and then got to a hut, had dinner, punched a dude, and then walked for another half an hour. Then you're like, we should set up camp here and have a nap.
Yeah. And so when they finally arrived at to save Eric, it didn't feel like, wow, like traverse this great distance. This was like an epic story. It was like, no, this is a bunch of D&D players. They meet up weekly, and the dungeon master is trying to get the story moving because they keep getting sidetracked.
Yeah.
They keep screwing off.
And they keep rolling garbage, and he's just like, I just want to fucking end this. Sure, you figure out you can just fall into the water, and then everything will be okay.
You look at the waterfall and just know. I need to jump off this.
2 of the Gales show up. Fuck it. Yeah, you learn magic. You cast a death spell and you kill the bird lady. And then the super giant, like Guillermo del Toro, no eyes mask man. he misses all of his throwing star attacks, which are supposed to be instant kills, but okay, fuck.
Except one, but then on damage he rolls a 1. And
yeah, exactly. And then she just miraculously heals it and it's fine. I did like the scene where like Jade pulls it out, and what does she do? She like goes to distract her by just like slapping her in the face or something, and then pulling it out.
I mean, I like that scene just to see her get slapped. I thought that was it's like, not only is she hitting a character none of us like, but it was a funny way to do it. Yeah, I'll give them credit for that. That was pretty funny. I thought she was gonna like do something weird, like sing or like tell her to breathe or something like that. No. Yeah.
Okay. Also, too, there was the so Kit hates Jade, and then
sorry, Jade. You mean Kit hates Alora?
Kit hates Alora. The Pigeon or whatever the fuck her nickname is.
Dove.
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 Pigeon. And then there is the scene where she apologizes and there is character development. She goes, "Oh, I'm sorry that I have this disdain towards you," and then everything's okay.
Yeah. Also, I don't quite understand how they moved from the episode before. The last minute is her getting angry at Alora, and then for no reason now she forgives her.
Exactly.
They don't show her having any like discussions with people, like trying to work this out. They don't see Alora doing something that like changes her mind. No, it's just all of a sudden, hey, it's okay, you're forgiven. We're all good because the story needs us to be 2 episodes. Friends. Well, one episode left.
Or 1 episode. We're friends now, okay? Yeah. Cool. And it went like it took a hard right where it was just like, I fucking hate you. This is stupid. You're useless. I'm self-righteous and annoying as shit. And then it was just like, no, we're best friends. I love you. You're okay. It's like,
the only reason they did that is because they wanted those two alone to be facing Eric. They want Eric's sister, and they want Alora because she's the chosen one. They don't want Willow because Willow, if he decides to use his magic, we don't know. Because for some reason he's been using his magic a lot recently, but he never uses it in a fight. That's another thing I've noticed. Fights, it's always the last thing he'll use. He'll let everyone else do fighting.
The mage.
Yeah, it's like playing D&D campaign, and the guy's like, no, I'm saving my spell slots for later on. It's like you only need a short rest to get it back. No. I'm gonna wait.
A multi-spec is a rogue. I want to use all those stats.
Yeah,
you're not good at them. Bob, what if I need my nuke or my fucking flamethrower?
Yeah.
How does he have a flamethrower? Anyway, then they get to it. Yeah, they get to the thing, and Eric's there, and he went from looking like he was in the band Greta Van Fleet to the Strokes, because he's got a leather jacket now. I don't know.
Well, that's a lot better. I thought I was ggoing to say like the Jonas Brothers if they decided to go slightly edgier, like
exactly. In their they
still got the same look, like face.
He's still a fucking.
It's black.
He's still a preppy fuck boy.
Yeah.
But now his daddy bought him a leather jacket, and he puts a little bit of grease in his hair.
Yeah, and I also don't get the transformation. He didn't look evil to me. Like I get that outfit's evil because it's black, but like at the end of the day, usually you have like the eyes like burning or like there's something like that. In the very first 2 episodes, spell
his fucking name.
Eric, but it's with a K, I think. Erickson, something like that.
Hold on.
But the very first 2 episodes, we had Silas, who went evil. He was possessed. He looked great. The voice, the eyes, demeanor, awesome. Love that. And now we have this guy who was drinking the evil potion. And
like
he goes
guzzling it.
Wannabe goth, kind of, except without the eyeshadow.
Yeah, if they dyed his hair black, gave him some guy liner and like a little bit of eyeshadow, and like if they went full. See, here's the thing: all the enemies and all the bad guys look so fucking cool. And I've
do.
said it before and I'll say it again. I just want an entire series of those guys because they look, or like a bunch of episodes. They would be so cool. And
like
now
even the
he's
trolls,
part of them. Yeah, even like
they even looked pretty good. That their voices were weird. I admit they didn't look like weird. What I thought a troll was, but the costumes,
which is fine.
Nice.
But if the voices were like demonic and like the from Lord of the Rings, the original, not the Nazgul, the Uruk-hai.
I imagine them kind of like, if they're like the Uruk-hai, or even if they wanted to be like goblins, where it's kind of shrieks and yelps, a bit more animalistic, rather than sorry there, chumps. Wait, that's more. That's
hey
the
there,
wrong voice.
No, not far
they're
off.
Kind of like that.
It was just like so out of place. What's his fucking name? Hold on. I have a picture of him.
Looking for Eric still?
I'm trying to find the Airk.
Oh, A-I-R-K. Sorry, I knew there's a K. I didn't realize that it was A-I instead of E.
Eric Evil. Images. What episode was this? 7?
7. One more to go. That's 1 week. Then we can find something else. Honestly, it'll probably be the Bad Batch, I think we'll be talking about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because it started. And we'll talk about it today.
We will. This is what he looks like now. No, not slides. Oh, God. Share screen. Come on. There we go. So, like, all he did, he got a little bit of a haircut, cut the sides a bit, and now he's got like a cool jacket on.
Oh my God. He's in the Hunger Games.
This looks like the Hunger Games.
Yeah, it does.
Like
he's a contestant in the Hunger Games.
If I'm like, that's a cool jacket. Like I'd fucking wear that.
It is cool. I like it.
If they like shaved his head, gave him eyeshadow, had blood dripping for like all of the bad guys look so cool and have such great artistic choices for them, but all they did was like they just made him prettier. Like it just looks like he's 10 years older and now he's like, oh, okay, I'll get a haircut.
He looks a bit like that actor from Riverdale. I don't watch the show, but the guy that plays Jughead.
Sure. Yeah, they just CW'd him up a bit more.
Yeah.
That's all they did. So now he looks like he's from Riverdale. And too, like, when he shows up, you didn't know who he was at first. And I was just like, oh, it's Eric. And then when he walked forward, I was like, okay, what are they going to do? And then the credits started rolling. And I was like, oh, is he evil or what? Like, because it wasn't enough of a character change that I was like, oh, now they're fucked. Oh, he's evil now. They changed him. I was just like, he's in a new jacket. Cool. Good. That's a good jacket. Yeah. And then the credits rolled, and I was just like, like, okay.
And even if he is evil now, he showed no sign of being like adept with weapons. He was the guy that would run off and like make out with the cook rather than train like his sister. And even then, his sister didn't actually train. So I don't know if Eric's actually going to be a threat or I don't know. I'm just kind of confused.
Yeah.
The show's
anyway, we've talked about this for half an hour now.
That's half an hour too long.
What do you give this episode?
Do you know what? When I first watched it, this episode, I did give it a slightly higher score than I'm going to give it now. I'm going to give this one again. I think last year I gave the same. Last week I gave the same rating, a 6.
But technically, it was last year.
Yeah, that's true. Last year, give it a 6. Today, I'm also going to give it a 6 out of 10. Because there were some I like the CGI. The fighting scene was not good, but the training, while it was cheesy and should have happened way earlier in the season, I like the special effects with the training. I thought that was neat.
And the choreography for when they were training and fighting and doing the sword fighting stuff, it was well done.
Oh yeah, especially with the like the wand movements. It's very like,
Yeah.
Harry Potter-esque, where she's like turning
Yep.
around like under the arm sort of thing. I thought that was neat, but
Yep.
at the end of the day, one scene, well, I can improve the score a little bit. Overall, the whole episode didn't set things up well enough for me to really feel like I'm on the edge of my seat. Um, the big fight scene that they did have, the one that actually mattered, didn't seem
They just glanced over.
daunting or threatening. It was definitely one of those fight scenes that whenever you watch it, you're like, oh, everything's going to be fine. Nothing's going to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, there was
And
no
nothing
threat
happened.
whatsoever. And it was one of the most important fights since the first couple episodes, because it was like, these are the guys, they're now having a confrontation with them finally, and they're just like, oh, one of them's dead, oh, one of them was hanging out with an old man, and also then they're like, oh, they stole his dog, his big water creature thing. We haven't seen any creatures like this, so it was like this giant fantastical creature that's just like, oh, now they have this guy. And Graydon was just like, oh, he's my pet. But like, that doesn't matter because now they're not even with them. Just
Yeah, Graydon let him go because the pet was sick, but it's like, well, it took you several days with that thing going at full speed to get there. You're nearly out of food. If you are going to return, how? Like
yeah.
you're going to let that one animal go at the risk of everyone's life. I don't know. And Graydon Olsen, like sure, I kind of guessed there was something magical about him, but him immediately being like on near the same level as Allura, magical ability, first try, even though she's the chosen one. It's like, well, this is too late in the game to be pulling stuff like this.
Yeah.
For me.
And again, like when this episode ended, I was not like, oh wow, season finale is going to be next week. Oh, I can't wait. I was left with as many questions as every other episode, and I'm not like, yeah, to your point of like, I don't think we've ever seen Eric be proficient in any form of combat whatsoever. So like, he's not a threat. He's not like, I don't care. And we got one episode left. Thank Christ. And I give this episode a 3.
What was your rating last week?
Maybe a 2 or a 3.
Was it? Yeah. I honestly, my score should be lower, but I don't know. I had a good day today, so that probably impacted the rating a little bit. But yeah, it's not a good series. I would not recommend it for any friends. I would recommend it for something for someone to put on the background while they do something else, and they're not really listening.
No, Seinfeld still exists. That's much better to have in the background.
That's true. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. There are other options that are better. Yeah, I don't know why Disney decided to do this. I know they wanted like a fantasy setting, which is fine. Like I love the fantasy genre. It's just they didn't do a good job with it. They didn't explain much lore. They're assuming we know all these things.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions and not very many answers. But anyway, we're going to talk about the Bad Batch now because that's a good show.
Yes. Oh yeah.
So Bad Batch season 2. This is the first Star Wars thing to come out since Andor, and is the in between.
Oh, since Tales of the Jedi.
Oh, Tales of the Jedi.
That came out after Andor,
yeah. Or it came out at the
during, but it was the start of it was after.
Yeah. So this was originally supposed to come out at the same time as not at the same time, but while Andor was on. So this was supposed to come out before Tales of the Jedi and kind of in the middle of Andor. So it got delayed. And I think that was a really good decision because it ties in a lot of the themes with these first 2 episodes. with Andor stuff, and then also too, they're going to Count Dooku's home planet in these first 2 episodes as well. So it kind of, you get the backstory more of Dooku when he was good, and then you see it was cool to see in Tales of the Jedi how Count Dooku was so against corruption and dirty politics and all that, and you get to see that side of him as being like fighting against that. But then we know how he turns out, and then he ends up starting, the separatists pretty much. And then you see at the end when he was fighting the or not at the end, but when after he was fighting the politicians who were corrupt and everything and destroying his planet, how the dark side ruined all that, and he just fucking turned into a piece of shit dictator.
I was a little conflicted about that though.
I was as well, because I thought it was kind of like, oh well, all of the good that we saw that he turned into, that just kind of dismisses that. But then on the other side, I was like, well, he was still a Sith, and then was completely taken over by the dark side. So he started with good intention and then got corrupted by the dark side, and then just turned into the thing he was trying to fight originally.
Yeah, that's true. Fair enough. That's true.
But yeah, so it's they start on the planet that they got to in the last season. They're fighting a bunch of big crabs, stealing shit.
The Indiana Jones scene. Start the plane, Jock.
There's a lot of Indiana Jones scenes in these 2 episodes. And it took me a little bit to kind of get into the feel of this show, just going from Andor. And I recently rewatched a couple Clone Wars things. So the last, or the final season, I rewatched that over the holidays.
Of Clone Wars or the Bad Batch?
Of Clone Wars, yeah. And yeah, this I thought had a much more, it was a less cheesy vibe with the Bad Batch, especially Wrecker. I found he was a little like too childish in his jokes and his demeanor and whatever. But again, you always kind of have to take it because it is a kid show. But it was less cheesy and annoying. A lot of the lines that were given, but yeah, everyone's older. Well, Omega's a bit older. All the clones have new designs, which means they're just going to make new figures of them because they got new paint jobs.
Yeah, it's true.
And but yeah, they do a little heist. They steal from some crabs. You see Omega being useful now instead of just getting captured constantly. And she's proficient with her bow now, and isn't relying on the rest of the clones to get her out of sticky situations.
I forget. Does that bow kills, right? It's not a stun.
The bow
it does kill.
Oh yeah, no, that
kills.
It's.
There are scenes where the clones are all stunning everyone, and then Omega's just kill.
Yeah,
it's just shooting.
Yeah, I did notice that too. Yeah, they were having constantly shooting stun rounds, but I think that's mainly just because they were fighting actual clones.
Oh yeah, they still feel a bit of that connection.
Yeah.
One thing I did really enjoy, and I know we've seen it a little bit recently in Star Wars, but having that time period where the clones still work for the Empire before they've dismissed them. Clones still work for the Empire, and the Empire has just kind of started up. Yep. And that's a time frame in Star Wars we've only recently gotten to explore.
Yeah,
I'm really enjoying it so far because it's the Empire not at its height, but not quite.
Yeah,
it doesn't have that overall control, but it's Clone Wars just ended. It is now the dominant power. It's fresh, it's new, and it's growing. And so it's a big threat to a lot of people. That's what I mean by the height.
Yeah, and it's doing a lot of jobs. So they go back to their home on Ord Mantell, I think it is. And there's what's her name, the bartender from Cheers. She is their caretaker, their boss at that point. And then Wanda Sykes is a character in this as well. So you kind of get introduced. So they were doing a job in the first episode to get this crate of who knows what. And then Wanda Sykes shows up and she's like, cool, thanks. This tip isn't free. So she tips what's her name from Cheers, their boss, off to the fact that they are ransacking Count Dooku's fortress of all of his valuables and jewels and credits and all that.
Sorry, I'm still stuck. Was it Ord Mantell they were on?
I think they were on Ord Mantell.
Because that makes an appearance in Star Wars: The Old Republic.
It does. Well, Ord Mantell was originally first mentioned in Empire. And then I think one of the biggest things, Ord Mantell was the junk planet. If you ever played Shadows of the Empire, the train level.
Oh, I haven't.
So yeah, you fight IG-88 on Ord Mantell, and that level is garbage and is bullshit because you're jumping from train to train, and it's like a early 2000s game, and so it's janky as shit, and you just fall off and die. But so yeah, then they go to what is Count Dooku's planet.
Oh yeah, I can't remember the name, but I do remember the inside of his
Sereno.
I love seeing the inside of his like house, mansion, room thing again. It's nice seeing, looking back at things that we used to see during the Clone Wars, but now it's many, many years later, and you see, the separatist tanks and items like that all decrepit and rusting and falling apart. You see a lot of the locations, and in Rebels we also see a lot of the times when things that were used during the Clone Wars are kind of up against the new Imperial models, and getting to see the comparison between the two. It's kind of neat seeing that. But yeah, we get to see that a little bit here. We get to see Count Dooku's place and how wealthy Count Dooku was.
Yeah, and just like everything's just Art Deco looking. And so yeah, then they get down, try and steal a bunch of stuff, try and do stealth, and you see some like in the first season, they were constantly like when they were bringing Omega around, were slowed down by her a lot of the time. But now you see how concisely they're all working together. So there's a little bit of development there. Like what a show should do when you have characters who don't really get along and don't really work well together. You take a season to show that development. And then after the second season, you can show that they work well together, and you go, oh, that's because you spent a season showing this growth, unlike some fucking shows.
And they're still showing a bit of growth. Like they're training her still. She's learning. They're showing that in ways that aren't just like, okay, this is the time right before you need to know these skills, so we're just going to do a big training montage right now. They pace it well, and it makes things feel natural when you watch the show, rather than forced.
And then they're not sitting there going like, why does she know about these fucking ships?
Yeah.
He goes, oh, I know why she knows about these fucking ships, because they spent 30 seconds going like, hey, these are part of your classes. And then a half hour later, you're like, oh, she's using that because she learned that. Oh, cool. I know that. Thanks for writers for having faith that I'll remember these things.
Yeah. It's nice that they actually do that.
Yeah.
But, where were we? So they are robbing the place. One thing, and I get Omega's still young. She still annoys me a little bit. I don't know about you. I get it. Like she's supposed to be like that though.
Yeah.
And they make it obvious. It's not like I'm annoying, but I'm also, lovable. Look, I'm interesting. I got this romantic relationship with the person who's training me. No, it's
no, she's just young and annoying, and everyone's kind of annoyed with her, and they talk down to her.
Yeah.
And she has development, and even like Echo was like, we're in this situation because of her, and she overhears that and then feels guilty, and then later, when the mission just like went tits up and everything's going fucking crazy, she's still like, I need to get these valuables because that's why we're here, and I'm the reason why you guys are fucked. And then then they're like, no, we're not saying that we're in this situation and it's your fault. It is because of you, but we're not mad about it. Like it's
they still care about her.
Yeah, we don't have an option to do something else, and we wouldn't want to because you are part of our family, and we're here because of you, and that's fine. But we're going to work together and get through this and get past this. But the way that it kind of harkens back to Andor is they keep being like, all right, we're going to get this money and then we'll be free. And once we get this money, we don't have to deal with the Empire anymore. We can just fuck off to Cabo. And then what's her? Could look up the actual character.
Who are you thinking of?
Their boss.
Their boss. Oh, from the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
Oh, Green Lady. Can't remember either.
I could look up her, but I'm not. I'm looking at
found it. I looked up Bad Batch green character. Sid or Kid, CID.
I think it's Sid, but we're gonna say Carla, because that was her name in Cheers. So, and yeah, even she's just like, oh, it's cute that you think you guys will be free, kind of just like hearkening back to, Empire's not going anywhere, and you guys are still wanted. So, just because you aren't broke doesn't mean that they're gonna fucking go away. And yeah, it not a lot. Like it wasn't a earth-shattering couple episodes.
Yeah, no, but I don't think it was trying to be. I think it was trying to introduce us to where they are at this point in their lives, give us a little bit of danger, a little bit of threat. Throw a challenge, but not one that you think, oh my gosh, someone's gonna die. Although I did think at one point Tech couldn't die. I did too. And going back to Andor, when the crate fell and there was a bunch of heavy shit, I was like, they're gonna kill somebody off in the first episode? Jeez, holy shit. And there's a little crunch when it hit too. I was like, oh.
Yep. I was like, I've seen this before in Star Wars. Then he dies. But no, they just broke his leg. I did like there was a lot more so like in the first season, it was mainly focused on the main the leader and a little bit of Wrecker and stuff. But this season seems to be kind of giving more development to Tech and Echo, which is cool. Because they kind of sat by the waysides in the last season, which I mean makes sense. You want to have the leader and the main, you want to develop the main characters first and then the side people in the group later. But it was cool when they run into a local and he puts them up in their house under some duress a bit. But
I thought that I know they killed off Count Dooku, but for a moment I'm like, is that Count Dooku?
It was similar, yeah. Like it was.
I think they did that though, just to show, oh, same planet, similar styles, kind
Yeah.
of people might have similar features, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, there wasn't.
But it was cool to see like how the clones were programmed, and even though they're a different sect and are a special group of clones, they still have that programming of just like, oh, these are separatists. This
Yeah,
planet is a separatist planet. They are bad people. And when they met
years
that
after the
guy,
war, they still
yeah,
think that. Yeah,
when they met that guy, he was just like, "Oh, this is separatist technology," and he's like, "No, motherfucker, this is our history. We existed before the separatists came in. This is art and music, and this is an archive of that." And he's just like, "Oh, yeah, okay, I guess you did have culture and people before the separatists came in." And then he just immediately like helps him unlock his fucking iPod or whatever. And
yeah,
then he's like, "There you go. I factory reset it or or whatever." And so it was cool to see like tech coming to terms with the fact that they are people and more than just the group that was occupying their planet.
yeah. So that's one thing I think Clone Wars did well, and Star Wars has done well in the recent years. They try and show us the other side. Sure,
Yeah.
the Separatists we see as evil, the Empire we see as evil, but we've also seen glimpses such as can't remember the episode name, but during the Clone Wars, when Padme and Ahsoka went to a Separatist planet to see the Separatist Congress, or I think that's what they
Yeah.
called it over there. They had a Congress, and they seemed like good guys. They're voting on things. They're being democratic. Sure, we knew they're evil. Their leader was evil. He was a Sith Lord, but to them, it was like, no, we're just this is how we do. We think we're doing the right thing here. Um, and it's interesting to see that other side, that other perspective, and
Mhm.
uh, and Clone Wars and now the Bad Batch, they give us glimpses of that, which is it's nice. It's not something you'd usually see in a kid show. Kid shows usually are this is good, this is bad. They make it very
Yeah.
clear.
Well, and two, the separatist movement was a rebellion against the Republic,
Yeah,
because which then turned into the Empire. So really, like from the Star Wars movies, we saw the separatists as, oh, these are guys with the droids and they kill and they're bad, and Palpatine is bad and Count Dooku is bad. Really, you see Dooku as somebody who is, again, essentially he's just like, I don't like the Catholic Church. They're bad. They're corrupt, and so I'm gonna leave the Catholic Church and fucking go rule this place after my brother dies. Or did he have his brother killed? I can't remember.
I don't think he killed him. Well, maybe he did, but I thought that he just died and he took it over. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't
I
know enough about Dooku in particular to
yeah.
say anything.
But then he gets corrupted by the dark side. But so the separatists too, we see like after the Republic turns into the Empire, the separatists becomes another rebel cell, or continues being a rebel cell. So like they didn't go away.
Yeah,
And after Dooku dies, we see what was it, the like prime minister of Ryloth or something, or a senator from Ryloth. He starts. It
I think it was
was in the first
the
season of the Bad Batch.
yeah.
I think it was Ryloth, one of the senators. He had the monocle. The Bad Batch guys, Clone Force 99, they rescue him, and then he starts the separatist movement or something like that. But like, regardless, it's always been a rebellion or an offshoot or a sect that is against the main governing organization. So really, they're just like, they're socialists. If anything, they're like, Democrats or Republicans, whatever, they don't fucking work. So we're here for the people, and this shit clearly isn't working. And so we're seeing the separatists we saw a bunch of comments in Andor about how they are another rebel cell against the Empire, and they've just always essentially been in the right, and just against the giant monopoly that is governing everything and is super corrupt.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. No comment. I honestly, I agree with that. You got it spot on. There's a difference between watching Willow and just talk. You constantly want to express disappointment and then just move on to a show that's well thought out, and
yeah,
we're talking about it's like, yeah, it's good. These things are happening. The world's good. I'm not complaining.
And the thing with these 2 episodes, like, these aren't like, what do you give these 2 episodes?
Okay. See, what was I'm because I watched them back to back. I'm blending them together. Same. What was the ending scene in the first episode? Just so I can separate them. Do you remember? If you don't, I could pull it up quickly.
Ending scene of the first episode, I think did they get to the planet and start the heist, or was part of the heist in the second?
Hold on.
No. The first episode, they had started the heist.
Did they just get trapped?
I think, yeah, and they get to the dude's house.
I will pull this up very quickly.
You pull it up. I'm gonna grab a drink.
No worries. No worries.
Also tell people to subscribe or whatever.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching today. I do suggest that you subscribe to us, whether you're watching at Twitch, YouTube, or else. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, a ton of places. We do a lot of great content there. Let's see. I think they were on the transport ship. Yeah,
they kind of blended together for me too.
Oh, the last scene was they were on the transport ship, and they were in the crate thing, and it was falling from the sky, and they're saying like, oh, why isn't it turning on? Why aren't we working? The thrusters, and they weren't at that moment.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. First one. I will give it. Do you know what? I'm going to give it an 8. I know it's pretty high considering there wasn't anything crazy, but it's an 8 because I didn't have much to complain about. I enjoyed it. It was good. Yeah. It was a start of season 2. So if it was a start of season 1 and we didn't have any context from season 1,
yeah,
I would rate it lower. But because we're already in a certain, they're just basically telling us at this very moment, this is where we are since we left the story.
Yeah.
It's just continuing. It's good. I've enjoyed it a lot. The second, are we just doing the first episode for now? I guess we're ready.
No, do both.
Yeah. The first one, I give it an 8. Second one, I would probably give it about the same. I liked a lot of scenes from the second one as well. The only reason why I'm not giving the second one higher is because there were certain times where I felt like, oh, is Tech going to die? He didn't, which is fine. I'm not complaining about that. It was not his time. You might not want to kill off a main character like that in the first 2 episodes. But, I think 9, it could have been a 9 if it was a little different, something that I didn't expect. But no, it was good. No major complaints, just nothing that really shocked me. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say similarly. Like, and now again, the way we score these is not in relation to anything else. So like, I think I'm gonna go a bit lower. But it's not because I'm saying it's bad. It's so like these first 2 episodes, and I talked about this in the very beginning. Like I had to kind of remember like what the feel and the atmosphere for this show is.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it's pretty low stakes, kid show ish, whatever. And I thought it was kind of not a slow, I don't know, it's just how this show kind of goes. There isn't a whole lot of like, whoa shit, because it's mainly just about this group of rejected clones, but they're also made to be important, and then they're on the run constantly. Yeah, like these aren't my favorite Bad Batch episodes, but as you said, like I have nothing to complain about. There's nothing really that bugged me in them. I think I'll give them both. I think I'll give the first episode a 6 and the second episode a 7. Because they're in the second episode, there was a couple times where I was just like, "Oh shit, is he gonna die? Are they gonna kill him off like they did in Andor?" But I think there's a lot of room for improvement as far as like intrigue and story stuff. This was just kind of an introduction to being like, okay, they're older, or yeah, Omega's older. She's not as annoying anymore. And she can now hold her own. And yeah, I'm excited to see what the rest of the season.
Yeah, I did notice one thing. Season 1, episode 1, it was like an hour and a bit, hour and 20 minutes, I think, which is a lot longer compared to this episode, but it was only, each episode was under 30 minutes. So, you know, that's something to notice. I understandably, season 1, episode 1, you are setting up the whole thing. And the only other time we've seen the Bad Batch was in a couple episodes of the Clone Wars.
I'm looking up how many episodes. So there's going to be 16 episodes.
That's good. That Clone Wars does, you know, good 20 to 30 minute episodes. They have a fair amount of them a season. It's good. Lots of content. They keep it, I want to say fast paced, but what I really mean is it's good pacing.
Yeah. There's 18 episodes in the first season.
Okay, so 2 less this time. And so far it's been shorter.
Yeah, actually, how long were Bad Batch? First season of Bad Batch premiered May 14th and ran for 16 episodes. So
the first season was 16.
First season was 16. And yeah, how long was the first episode?
Oh, I just unplugged my HDMI. This is weird. I am able to look at the names of season episodes 3 and 4, and I can see. I guess because reviewers got to look at them. Okay. I'm not really a fan of that. I don't really want to, I don't like how Rotten Tomatoes gets their hands on it early.
Totally not paid.
Oh, but the critics haven't come out with anything. Yeah. They've just for season 3. Or sorry, episode 3 they haven't, but episodes 2 they haven't either. That's strange. Oh. Usually they're pretty on top of it. Episode 1 they haven't either. So nothing. Can't trust them at all though. Willow, they've given 85% still. As a reminder to those of you who haven't checked it out. Willow TV show, 85%, which is absolutely insane. Especially since
they didn't pay for that at all.
Yeah. And Star Wars The Bad Batch season 1 got 87%.
Yeah, the first episode of season 1 was 75 minutes. So yeah, an hour plus credits.
Yeah.
And then episode 2 was 30 minutes. Then episode 3, 28. So yeah, they did an hour. Here's this fucking show we're gonna do, which makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good way to introduce people to it.
Yeah, and this season 2, like these 2 episodes were like a contained story. So I'm sure they could have made this a 1 hour thing, but marketing wise probably sounded better. Like, oh, first 2 episodes you get to watch, but really this is 1 episode kind of thing.
Yeah. And I was okay with it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's nice to have shorter episodes like that because in the event, if you're not really interested, at least it's over fast.
Yeah.
But no, these were interesting. Having shorter episodes, you're able to make the to keep the pacing at a reasonable pace. The pacing at a reasonable pace. That doesn't sound great when I say that out loud, but they don't have it really slow, because if it is, then you've got many episodes of the same thing to wander through. But they don't want to make it really quick either, because you have 20 minutes and you're going to just blast through a ton of stuff. So they've set it out at, good moments. They make it easy to understand. I think if someone was watching this series first time, didn't even see season 1, just wanted to see season 2 or start off with season 2 because it's being released right now and they're watching with their friends, I think they could probably watch it and enjoy it. They
understand, Wrecker likes big explosive gun
big
things,
guy.
and he turns into a tank. Wanda Sykes is fucking in it, and Omega is the kid, and Tech likes nerdy things. Yeah,
don't forget Echo. Echo is technically my favorite since he's been around the longest.
That's true, and he was he got added in. And everyone was annoyed with him because he kept just regurgitating the orders that everyone already knew.
Yeah. But
so everyone made fun of him.
He was annoying initially, but because he was that, you remember that original group of clones that were first introduced to that kept screwing up and not passing the test, and they finally worked together. And then slowly over
the power of friendship.
Yeah. But it's just that over time, you slowly see them all die off. And it's just gut-wrenching. And eventually it gets to a point where, where there's only one left. And now he finds this new family of clones that he can be a part of. And I know he's kind of crippled now. But one hand, other hand can't grab onto anything. I thought maybe they give him maybe some sort of hand like Anakin's that's a claw.
He's got a grapple thing.
Yeah, but he's got different an attachment. From a hand.
No, but he's got pincers.
Yeah,
he's got an attachment.
It makes sense, but in the Star Wars universe, we've seen fully articulated hands that are just super strong, grip wise. They can bend, crush metal and stuff, and then instead they give him those little pincer toys that you give kids to clean up parks. Admittedly, it's really strong, but still.
Yeah.
But that's not a complaint. They're, low tech, low budget right now. Plus, he was made by the Separatists, so I'm not going to criticize him too much.
Yeah, and then the end of the episode ends with one of the clones who was under the Imperial Army having a conversation with Vice Admiral Rampart. And he's like, okay, Clone Force 99 is supposed to be dead, so you're going to change your report because Tarkin would be pissed because I already said they died. So Tarkin would be pissed at me if I overlooked that. So we're going to change that. And then he was like, and this was kind of showing some humanity with a lot of the clones and how their inhibitor chips aren't necessarily working properly, because he's seeing oh, this is just clone on clone violence. And he's like, no, I saw them. And then he's not just doing following orders blindly. He's like, I will not falsify documents. And he's like, okay, I will.
Yeah. What do you think of that scene? Did you like it, or did you find it cheesy, or?
No, I thought it added how the clones blind following is kind of deteriorating. And yes, they have the chips in them, they have fail safes in them, but they're deteriorating and they're evolving past that. And their humanity, quote unquote, is pushing through that, and they are still individuals, and they're still people, and they still have consciences, they still got brains, and they're able to push through, the robotic programming.
They've got brains, they can think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I especially like that scene because it does show like the corruption in the empire, the willingness to like, if I'm gonna get in trouble for this, nope, I'm gonna lie so I can get out of it. The empire kind of indirectly encourages that sort of behavior as long as it's not a problem with the lie, it's fine. They don't say that out loud, obviously, but that's kind of what happens. It really reminds me of Star Wars: The Old Republic. If you play it as an Imperial agent and you can just go about like lie
that was
about
the best
things.
The best storyline is the Imperial agent, in my opinion. Like that.
I love that one. Was good, I agree, but I love the Bounty Hunter. That one was for me.
So Bounty Hunter was I played that game when it first came out with my friend that I was living with, Mark, and I played Bounty Hunter and he played Imperial Agent all the way through.
Oh, yeah.
And it was cool because we both like had our computers right beside each other, and we both played through the story and then went through all the raids and everything. And the Bounty Hunter one I loved, and is still my main character. And the Imperial Agent one, I thought the voice actor was way better.
Oh yeah.
And I loved the Imperial Agent one. My Bounty Hunter's name, I don't know if they've changed this, but in the beginning, your name would always show up over your head, over your character. So I was like, all right. Okay. But you couldn't get it to go away if you were in a public place. I don't know if it still does that. I haven't logged on in a while. I'm still paying for it. I should probably log on at some point.
Probably have a lot of coins right now, cartel coins.
Probably. I keep getting an email being like, hey, here's your cartel coins. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I should go spend those on a shirt. So my legacy name is Flammenwerfer.
Flammenwerfer? What's that from?
Yeah.
Is that your own invention or?
No, it's German for flamethrower.
I'm guessing you're a pyrotech.
Yes, I was originally. So you remember the meme? Hey, Flammenwerfer. It werfs Flammen. Anyway, no. So Flammenwerfer. It was a meme before Twitter. I don't know. Anyway.
Okay, no worries.
So Flammenwerfer, because it's German, there's like an extra 10 F's and N's, and it's this long. Mm-hmm. So every character I make, its last name is Flammenwerfer. And the first name is Verfügungsstrupp, which is again another German word, and there's about 17 superfluous P's in it.
Oh my gosh.
So it's Verfügungsstrupp Flammenwerfer, grand champion of the Great Hunt. And it was just and grand champion of the Great Hunt was the longest title, which also would show up on your name. So I would show up in the like main area and just crash people's games because I had the longest fucking name. And I would do raids, or if I was doing PvP, I would just look at the chat and people would just be like, whatever the fuck your name is, get the fuck out of here.
I was thinking in my mind, like, what if someone wants to like talk to you directly or like message or do anything?
Oh, it's a nightmare. They can't, because all my other characters also have like umlauts in their names or yeah. So everyone hated my name and it was great.
Gosh, I think I stuck to, for me, my last name was one of those just generated names that they do is Wickstar. So that was like the name, the legacy name we use for everything. And then my bounty hunter's name was Drak. D-R-A-K.
Drak.
I was like, it's simple. It sounds kind of like
that's a good bounty hunter name.
But it did crash anyone's computers. That I don't mind didn't do that.
I named all my characters just like old German World War II tanks and stuff. So there's like Flak-Willing. I don't know.
Cool. So any of the European servers with that name.
Just to give context, we were playing a lot of Company of Heroes 2, which is like a World War II strategy game, and so that when Old Republic came out, I just had all of those names of tanks and stuff that I would buy in the game and like send out. Oh, here's my the Flak-Willing, get that one out there. Oh, we gotta get a bunch of Nabelwerfers. I think I have another character named Nabelwerfer. It werfs Nabels. But anyway, so then just after that, I was like, all right, I'll just name them after like German tanks because they have fucking ridiculous names.
Oh my gosh.
So every character is related to that.
I can imagine there's like one person in the whole server that like, oh, I know that.
I know what that is. Yeah. Yeah, and those people I don't talk to because then it's just like, you're probably a white supremacist. You're on the internet and you like German things. I'm probably not a good person to talk to.
The assumption's not like, oh, maybe they did the same thing as me. Maybe if they played the game, it's like, nope, white supremacist.
They're on the internet. They're probably
no chance.
Shit. Yeah. I only know these things because of this one video game that, I mean, maybe a couple people played, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so go play Old Republic. It's a lot of fun.
Fun game. We're gonna get a new Old Republic called the High Republic game.
Oh yeah, the High Republic. That's done by the same guys who did Heavy Rain and shit, right?
I can't confirm that, but I will take a look.
They put out a trailer that Eclipse.
Yeah, sorry, that's it. It is it's set in the High Republic though.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, it is from Heavy Rain Studio.
Yeah, Quantum Dream.
Quantic Dream, yeah.
That I am so excited for.
The trailer looks good.
The trailer is mind blowing. Like when I watched that, I was like, "Oh shit, this is a video game."
Yeah. Of course, I'm always a little cautious about Disney going back into, a treasured part of Star Wars history and changing things up. But so far, and you just said the same thing too. So far, it's looking good.
And Quantum Dream does good games.
What other games have they made?
They did Human. What was that game called? Were you?
Oh, the one with the robots trying to be human.
Yep.
Oh, they did that.
Yep.
What's that game called again? Detroit Become Human. Yeah, that's a good game.
Yep. Heavy Rain. Jason. Heavy Rain was a lot of fun. Detroit Become Human was a lot of fun. And also just seeing a Star Wars game in that type of game, that'd be fucking fun.
Yeah.
And the amount of world building and side story back stuff, because there were so many little tiny storylines and little story that I think is a perfect setting for a Star Wars game, especially in an era that we don't know much about. So there's tons of room to just be like, here's 2 hours of some bullshit that has nothing to do with the main game that you can just fucking read into. And it's like, I would like that, please.
Yeah. Oh, there's only one game I've played that I think has got side quests that are on par to the Old Republic in terms of content and actually feeling like they matter. That's a big thing with side quests for me. I don't want a side quest to feel like, collect this chicken for me from the neighboring village because they stole it. I'll give you a coin. Oh no, we can't pay you.
I'll give you a shield.
I'll give you the shield. It's slightly above yours, but it's not good enough for you to actually want it.
No, because you can just go on the. You could just go into the marketplace and probably buy one for 50p, and it would be fine.
Yeah.
But
but the only game that I find that matches the Old Republic is The Witcher 3, because a lot of the side quests there, they were detailed enough and interesting, and preparing for it felt good and interesting. It actually felt like it was important to the world, or at least important to the character. There are moments where I just like stumbled upon, like, I can't remember the names for everything, but like a giant tree. It's like a living tree, but it's a person. And I was just like exploring this weird mansion that's abandoned. And as I'm walking out from it, this freaking tree thing attacks me, and it's massive and it's doing so much damage. And then later on, I find it's got like a whole backstory and so much detail. And the Old Republic's got something like that as well.
Oh, it's got that in spades. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Especially because like every planet you go to would be like, okay, like a lot of MMOs will do like, okay, you got to go to this area, this forest when you're level 20 to 25, and you finish the main quest there, and then you fuck off to this other forest and you go there from 25 to 30. But like the Old Republic, it was like, all right, you go to Tatooine when you're level 10 to 15. And then you go to Belsavis when you're, 30 to 40 or whatever. But in those things, you would also go back to them at higher levels too. So you kept going back to a bunch of planets later. So you would learn about and also too, it was a lot of class specific storylines too, where you would, but they would all be kind of intertwined. So if you did a different character, you would go to, I don't know, Belsavis, and you'd learn about this rebel sect that was there, and you went there as an Imperial agent, and you infiltrated them, and you learned about this guy and this group or whatever. And then if you went a different character, you go as a bounty hunter and be like, oh, there's this rebellion there. They'll hire you to kill this fucking guy. And you're like, oh shit, I know that group of people because when I was an Imperial agent, I infiltrated their competitors, and that guy, he's the head guy. Oh, I know that guy. Whoa, shit. So there was a lot of replayability, and it was just constant world building. And the fact that an MMO had and I don't know that many have done this. I mean, not successfully. Not to say that Old Republic was like groundbreaking or that anyone really gave a shit about it, but like not a lot of MMOs will put that much work into single player story and then have like, there was a bunch of on every planet and in any level range, there was always the epic quests, which you had to do with more than one person. So you would be going through your single player stuff to progress your character's story, and then there'd be these epic quests where it's like, all right, you got to go kill this giant fucking tree monster, and you're like, oh, okay, I'll go there, and you're like, oh shit, it's epic, and he's 10 levels above me, I can't kill him. And then it would force you to like, okay, I got to find locals to help me, and then there'd be people in the chat being like, yo, I'm gonna go kill the fucking tree ant. And you'd be like, oh, I'll come with you.
Like, do those world boss things where there's like 20 plus players, and they're on different planets, being like, hey guys, we're going to Hoth, we're going to Tatooine, we're going to fight the world boss here, join us. And they have to go to so many planets to recruit, and there's just this massive wave of players. And it also still feels a little personal, because at times that boss might target you specifically, and you're like, oh shit, this thing that's being attacked by 20 plus players, 40 players, and is doing tons of damage to all of them at once, all of a sudden picks on you, and you're going to have to try and just survive until it decides to fight someone else.
Yeah. In that game... No, go on.
Oh, I was going to say, it's like, as you said earlier, it's not like this massive groundbreaking game, but it's still, there's a lot of care put into it. And I think that level of care has been maintained over the years, which is why it's still around. It's not dead like a lot of other games.
Well, I think too. I mean, it was the same team that did Mass Effect.
Oh yeah.
And so like that level of production as far as the voice acting, I think still to this day, that is the game that has had the most voice acting in any game.
That makes sense.
Because
there's so much of it.
Every character is voiced. Every character has its own like, and yes, there are a lot of characters that you'll recognize, be like, oh, that's the same guy who voices this or this or this or whatever. But like, if you look at a Bethesda game like Fallout or
Skyrim,
fucking Skyrim or whatever, you're like, there's 10 voice actors, and yes, they are amazing voice actors. But there was, for Skyrim specifically, there is, so did you ever play Thief?
Yeah, I played a Thief before.
So no, sorry, the game Thief.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were still talking about Skyrim. No, I haven't.
I am, but I'm not. So there's this game series that was started, I want to say, in the late 90s called Thief, made by Looking Glass Entertainment. That production house was later bought by IDOS. So there was Thief 1. You're literally in like the medieval ages. You play a thief and you steal shit. And it was one of the first, or one of the biggest, it was one of the trendsetters for the FPS. And by FPS, I mean first person sneaker. And it was a stealth game, and there was like some magic stuff. Anyway, you start out and you play as this guy named Garrett, and there's full voice acting. The cutscenes were this like painted, really, really cool art style. And the voice actor who played Garrett was fucking phenomenal. And there was Thief 1, Thief 2, then there was Thief 3, which was the most different of them, but still loved by the community. Then Sony bought them out, and then they redid the series, and they just came out with Thief, and everyone fucking hated it, and it was ass. And I bought the collector's edition, and it was shit. But so the voice actor for Garrett voices a shitload of people in Skyrim. And ironically, he voices the leader of the Thieves Guild.
Oh, really?
And yeah,
I was going to ask if he was a Nord, but no, he's not just a plain Nord then.
No. He voices the leader of the Thieves Guilds and a couple other people, but also you'll just randomly come across him like in the world. And because I played the fuck out of the Thief series, and it's one of my favorite games of all time, anytime I would run into somebody, I'd be like, oh, it's Garrett. Oh, that's Garrett. Oh, hey, look, it's Garrett again. Oh, hey, the shopkeep, that's Garrett. But yeah, so like, but like, so occasionally you'll run into that, but every NPC, every quest giver, whatever, is full voice acting. There's no just text dialogue, period. With every character in the Old Republic, every single person is voiced, and there's cutscenes for a lot of them, if not all of them, that you talk to. But that also just gives way more life into the world. And fuck, every time I talk about the game, I just want to play it. And
I looked at it. The Thief 1 is 97 cents on Steam, which is
buy Thief. There's HD mods for it. It's one of the best stealth games ever. Like it started. Wait, when did the first Thief come out? Thief: The Dark Project came out in 1998.
Wow.
And there's HD texture packs you can get for it. But the AI and the stealth mechanics in it are legitimately some of the best stealth mechanics ever done. Like, it was phenomenal for its time. The game came out in fucking 1998. The voice acting's phenomenal. There's like this like magic. You essentially end up working for this pagan god, and then he turns on you and he steals your eye,
Spoilers. I'm just joking. It's fine.
and then so he's called the Trickster, and he's essentially just like pagan Satan, or Loki or whatever. And then there's different sects. Then there's the Hammerites, which are like this ultra super fanatic religious group, and they use hammers, and you have to sneak by them. And if you get also too in this game, you have a sword, you can fight, but it's a game where if you see somebody, you fucking run no matter what. Like if you try and fight, you will die.
That's nice. It's a nice feature, so that way you still want to be stealthy, but then in the event you don't feel like you're constricted, but at the same time, like if you want to be smart,
if you run into one guy, you can beat him in a sword fight. Like if there's a blocking mechanic, but like it's the type of game where if you're spotted and you can run away, you have a bunch of traps, you have like you have arrows, you have like water arrows that can put out torches, you have regular broadheads that you can kill people with or whatever. So you can like, but unlike Hitman, which is which took a lot of things from that. Hitman, it's like, okay, if you want, you could go gung-ho and just murder everyone. In Thief, that's not an option. Like if you run into a guard and you can't hide and can't run away, you could probably beat him in a fight. But then you have to hide the body, because if they find it, then they won't stop looking for you. And there aren't like hiding spots like, oh, I'll hide in this chest for an hour or whatever. And then if anyone does find a body, they'll always be alert. And if they hear a footstep, and also you walk around with fucking tap shoes on pretty much. So anyway, phenomenal game. My dad and I, and also it's terrifying too. Like it's a horror game. And in Thief 3, you actually go to an old orphanage and you have to get this girl who died, her blood, and put it on. Anyway, it's a fucking phenomenal series. And there's some like horror aspects, and there's a bunch of spirits and these like weird bug things that you later find. It's fucking sick. One of the best games I've ever played. Anyway, go play Thief or the Old Republic.
Old Republic's great.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, we really got sidetracked there from Willow.
Good. We only got one more episode.
Willow,
and we'll never speak about it again.
Yeah. One more episode of Willow. We'll quickly go over this because we've been talking about the Bad Batch. But going back to Willow briefly, the next episode. Do you think it? I know I see that face. I know. I'm sorry. But next episode, do you think it'll be redeeming in any way? Do you think they can redeem it? Or do you think it's too far gone? Too far gone. No other words, just no.
I think they gave up on this show, episode 3.
Yeah. Yep. I think so
the people who were doing the stunts, the choreography, the camera work, they don't even remember that the show exists. They were like, I got paid to do what? Oh yeah, Willow. Oh yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's
I think
not
the
good.
first 2 episodes, like you mentioned earlier, first 2 episodes were good. And the only gripe that I can remember having with them was they expected you to know things that you didn't know, which has been
that never went away.
The whole story. Yeah. But that at that stage, that was the only big issue that I can remember.
Yeah, the only issue was, these characters are annoying. And then I was like, but this might be intentional. And that they might have character development, and then we will learn to love them because they will have development and they will stop being little shits. And then it was just like, nope, they're always going to be like that. And it's like, okay, I fucking hate everyone in the show. And even the one person, Borman, who I was like, he's kind of funny, he's got some good lines. They were like, cool, we fired all of those writers episode 3. And they're like, okay, he's just gonna have garbage lines from now on. Cool, okay.
That's one thing I noticed too. Like he just kind of stopped being this comedic guy. And it's not just him, his jokes weren't as good. It was also everyone else started to try and be funny in the similar way, and it just didn't work. And it detracted from him too, because now everyone's kind of like him.
he was the funny, like, kind of rogue guy. And it was like, okay, he's got some jokes. Some of them land, some of them don't, whatever. And then they were just like, yeah, but everyone has those jokes. And it's like, okay, so now he's not important at all.
Yeah.
And then the information about how he used to know Kit's dad and fucking party with him is a throwaway line in episode 6. And it's like, that should be important. And they're like, yeah, but it doesn't matter. And it's like, okay.
Oh my gosh, you just reminded me. There was a moment, a biggish moment in this episode that we glossed over.
What?
He tried the armor and it didn't work for him.
He did?
It didn't. Nothing happened.
No. He tried it?
Yeah. He tried.
I remember the line where he was like, where Kit was like, you should use the armor. And he was like, I need to use it at the right moment. And this isn't the right moment.
Yeah, he kept saying that. And then at one point where it wasn't the right moment, he tried it and it didn't work. That's how.
So now they've had 2 people try it. Is this going to be you have to be worthy kind of thing?
Oh my God. If they give it to Kit and it works, I will be very upset. Because I actually wanted to work for him.
They're going to do that.
I know. I wanted to work
because you have to be, it's going to be a Mjolnir thing where it's like, oh, it only works for the chosen one. No, they're going to give it to fucking
Jade.
Daedala or what?
Alora.
Deirdre. Alora.
I hope not. She's not supposed to wear armor.
They're gonna give it to her, and because she's the chosen one, it's gonna work, and then that's gonna how they save the day. Or you know what's gonna be even stupider is they're going to give it to Eric, but here's the thing: none of them are there.
Yeah,
they just fell. As far as all of they know, they fell off the edge of the world and they died. And then Borman's just gonna be like, all right, well, we're done. I got the armor thing that I wanted to do. Fuck it, I'm going home.
Yeah, but you know that they're all gonna be like, oh well.
They're gonna show up at the last hour.
Yeah.
Borman's gonna throw her the armor. They're gonna save the day, and then Kit's gonna be like, and then she's gonna save the day, even though she didn't have any development with her character, and she's still a little shithead. But she said sorry once, and so now she's everyone's okay with her.
If they do that, if they actually, the guy that spent nearly his whole life looking for the armor had like friends die or give up through, basically his whole life revolves around it, and he doesn't get that moment, but Kit does, who is one of the most annoying characters, who's not interested in the armor at all, who's done nothing to deserve it, nothing at all to really contribute. If she wasn't in any of the episodes, I don't think there would be a different outcome.
No. She didn't do anything other than like fucking fall in the evil ice.
But if in the last episode they give her the armor and it works, I will make an account on Rotten Tomatoes and give this the lowest score possible. I don't have an account. But I will do that.
I will do that too. I will also make an account and I will write a fucking article.
It doesn't deserve anything, any of the good press that it's received. Which is so well, we know why it's gotten that, but
because we watched it.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Anyways.
So to leave it on a high note, don't watch Willow. Go play Thief and go play the Old Republic. Also watch Bad Batch. It's a pretty good start. Look, it's not mind blowing, but if you like the first season, this is a good continuation and it's gonna get better because
watch us instead. But not a Bad Batch, Willow.
Yeah. Don't watch Willow. Watch this. Tell your friends, subscribe, and leave a comment because we give away prizes every month. And if you're bored and have a couple hours to kill, go watch the centennial episode of the A&R Weekly podcast, which happens on Mondays at time. And we gave away a shitload of prizes and had a bunch of fun. So anyway. Bye, internet.